Internally within the government, I'm told there was growing disquiet. There'd been a lot of dissatisfaction about the way this thing had played out. We knew there was a no confidence motion being planned by the crossbenchers, which Labor was set to support, and there were growing threats within the Liberal Party as to how that might be treated by some backbench MPs.
So it's possible, at least, that she could have lost her speakership even with the support of Tony Abbott.
Well, it's theoretically possible. This was a pretty dangerous moment for the Speaker and for the government more generally, this being a hand-picked captain's pick of Tony Abbott. And if it came to a vote, that's explosive enough. But if in fact it was going to go close because the Speaker and the Prime Minister could not rely on holding their own side together, then that would have been very close to curtains, perhaps for both of them.
Well, Tony Abbott earlier this year had a near-death experience. There was a spill motion against him. Before this Bishop affair, he seemed to be recovering. How much damage has this done for Tony Abbott, not in the eyes of the electorate, but in the eyes of his party room?
It's a very good question, because I think it's done quite a lot of damage. I think there was a growing sense amongst some people in the Liberal Party that the Tony Abbott and the government were slipping back into some of their old ways. That Peter Credlin, the Chief of Staff, who had stepped out of the limelight and was taking a lower profile, was gradually reasserting herself on the government. And this was, of course, a great source of friction and discontent from ministers and backbenchers before. And this has only really cemented that process or accelerated that dissatisfaction, because over the last 3 weeks, what we've seen is the maturation of one of Tony Abbott's very bad captain's picks from the early days of this government, that being to impose on the Parliament, on the party room, the speakership of Bronwyn Bishop. And we've seen Bronwyn Bishop's position become untenable a long time before Abbott's finally had the sand to call it quits for her. And MPs were really mumbling a lot and saying, what's going on here? Why can't the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister's office hear what all of us out there in the field, or out there in our electorates, are hearing from voters every day? So
Parliament resumes next week for the spring session. Is that again going to be characterised about speculation about Tony Abbott's leadership?
Well, I think that I'd probably say on balance no, but it does depend largely on how things proceed in terms of the replacement of Bronwyn Bishop. There's a growing appetite in the party room for this to be done properly, for the Speaker to be selected from the party room democratically and not imposed as the last Speaker was. And that's been a tradition in the past, to get some sort of senior backbencher, someone who's been around for a while, has a broad level of support in the party, and perhaps ideally some support and respect across the Parliament, and select one of those people to be the umpire in the Speaker's chair. Now, if that happens, then I think there'll be a fairly high level of satisfaction about that, and that would be the path of least friction for Tony Abbott. However, if he chooses to impose his will, and that would be consistent with the pattern of the way this government's run so far, then he risks inflaming those tensions, and it may well be that other thing, becomes a sort of a cornerstone of his own dissent.
Okay, Mark Kenny, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Chris.